The most honorable thing for me to do was request to retire, which I did in late January.
A US Marine has resigned because of US President Donald Trump. CNN has reported on this story. Jack White here from US Daily. Let's take a listen at what they say.
A stunning resignation the same day that President Trump gave this ultimatum to senior flag officers in Virginia.
And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank, there goes your future.
President Trump would go on in that speech at Quantico talking about enemies within the United States and deploying the military to American cities. Coincidentally, now former Colonel Doug Krugman, a U.S. Marine at the time, says he resigned because of President Trump. He explains why in a brand new Washington Post op-ed earlier today, and former Colonel Doug Krugman joins me now. So, Colonel, you actually decided to resign months before that Quantico meeting. What led you to make the decision?
I decided to retire because I not only had policy disagreements with some of what President Trump did in his first term and promised to do in his second term. Policy disagreements are normal. Everyone who serves in the government and military accepts that and chooses to serve anyway. But I also had a lot of moral hesitation about President Trump's actions. And then finally, and as become increasingly clear over the past few months, I also question the legality of his actions and his will.
And that's the big thing as well, isn't it? Because he seems to have no consideration for the laws. Like, he's been breaking laws left, right, and center in many different ways, and it's almost like that the people can't keep up when they're trying to pursue him for some of the things he has been doing.
Willingness to actually defend the Constitution. The military officer oath includes the phrase "without mental reservation," and under President Trump, based on my questions about the morality of his actions and very large questions about the legality of some of his actions, I had a lot of reservations about continuing to serve. So the most honorable thing for me to do was request to retire, which I did in late January.
Can you be more specific about what actions you question about in terms of President Trump's morality and legality? Which ones are you specifically referring to?
Well, I think the culminating point of his first term was January 6th. And the fact he chose to, on the first day of his second term, exercise his lawful power of the pardon, no one disputes that, to pardon the roughly, I think it was 1,600 Americans who attacked our Capitol that day and tried to stop our Congress from doing its duties. That, for me, was a fairly large moral line. Prior to that, he selected Peter Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. Mr. Hegseth at the time made his name in part by advocating for pardons for some men who committed war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm one of several 100,000 who managed to serve in those wars without committing war crimes. And the fact that that was one of his strongest points, again, ran into my morals and my idea of what's right and wrong. I could give a lot more examples, but I don't think we have that long to talk, so I'll probably stop there.
Pretty black and white, pretty obvious, and makes a lot of sense the way he says it, doesn't it?
Secretary Hegseth has said that the actions he's taking, for example, restoring the names of the Confederate generals to forts and military bases, although he is using a loophole to do that, is to make the troops happy, is for military cohesion. But you argue in your op-ed that you think military cohesion is at risk under Trump. Can you explain why?
Yes. There's an assumption in the military that when you get orders through your chain of command, that the orders are based on the best information, best facts available, and that the orders are legal. Right now, we have several cases in this country, and I'm not talking about for overseas issues. The Venezuela boats, don't have time to get into that today. But we have cases in this country where the National Guard is in receipt of orders from the Secretary of Defense, as advocated by the president, that their governors have said they should not follow, and that now federal judges have said are illegal and should not be followed. Every time we have orders issued where, when in this case, the judges looked on the facts on the ground and looked on the justification and said the facts on the ground don't match the justification used for these orders. And when we have commanders who receive orders and are immediately told by another lawful authority not to execute them, that undermines morale, it undermines cohesion, and it undermines the strength of our military forces, who are no longer sure what orders they should be following and what they should be doing.
Former Marine Colonel Doug Krugman, thank you for joining us, sir. Thank you so much, and thank you for your service.
Thank you for having me.
What do you think? Do you agree with what he's done? Is sticking to your standards, your morals, what you believe in, the best thing that you could do? It seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? But A lot of people have different things that they think. Maybe drop them in the comment section for us. We'd love to hear from you. Like, comment, subscribe, share it around with a friend. Jack White here for US Daily. We'll see you in the next one.